He's quite the popular guy these days. Yeah, suele. A little song for the president, Henry.
You got to let me know.
Oh, yeah.
Should I stay or should I go?
Surely, Henry Cuellar, Western Valley Congressman, joining us on 710 KURE. Surely the president must see the ridiculousness of coming to Texas to raise money and not coming to the border, which is facing this crisis of humanity coming over. It's akin to President Bush going to Louisiana to raise money after Katrina and never going to New Orleans. So what do you say, Henry? Can somebody please impress on the president to come to McAllen?
You know, we've been asking him to come down to the valley, to McAllen, to see exactly what's been happening, but unfortunately they have dug in and they don't want to do it. You know, in fact, I think it's more insulting that he's about 500 miles from the border, and all he has to do is get on Air Force One, be here in less than an hour from Dallas down to, after he finishes fundraising, and then head down there. But unfortunately, he doesn't want to do it.
Understood. Can I set up the pass for you real quick, Congressman?
Yes.
He's going to be in Austin tomorrow for another fundraiser. San Antonio is not that far off. And Lackland Air Force Base, it's an Air Force base. You don't have to move stuff around. I mean, it's the president can show up anytime that he wants, you'd think. That's where Health and Human Services, that are, of course, tight-lipped, not saying anything about the kids, but that's where they're hosting 1,000 of these kids. Just go see the kids at San Antonio. How about lobbing that over to the White House?
That's a good idea. It'd be nice if he can go see the young kids at Lackland, but I still want him to come down to the border.
Understood.
He's going to be meeting with some people, some, quote, local leaders, which is good in Dallas. The problem is he's still 500 miles away. And if you talk to Judge Ramon Garcia and some of the other folks there, he's still not meeting with border local leaders where this is, ground zero for us.
Billions and billions of dollars that are being considered by the White House for this immigration. I believe the new word now to try to tamp it down a bit is immigration situation or something like that. Money that in part is going to attorneys and judges. They'll process these kids. But Henry, in light of this report that I'm seeing circulated right now in the Associated Press on how the UN wants to reclassify these illegal immigrants as refugees, and the U.S. and Mexico and Central America, they're going to sit down and talk about this week. I'm afraid that we're being cued to absorb these kids with all these new attorneys and judges instead of deporting them to Central America. Well,
under the law, we got to have those judges. We have to have. In fact, I've been calling to have the judges down at the border because, again, we got to give the Border Patrol the authority to expedite folks back to the countries just like we do with Mexico. We've been doing this for so many years, number one. But then if somebody asks for asylum or credible fear or they're a human trafficking victim, then you got to have those judges. The problem is they're so backlogged. Sometimes it takes up to 2 years to hear the cases. And even if you get an order for removal, ICE is going to put priority on criminals. And if you're somebody who has a order to deport, but you don't have criminal records, you get to stay here, so you get a free pass.
Understood. Joining us on 710 KURV, Western Valley Congressman Henry Cuellar.
Congressman Tim Sullivan here, and regarding the president's visit here or no visit here, there's talk of an optics problem here. What do they mean by that? If he came here, there would be an optics problem. What does that mean?
Well, basically, I think, first of all, I think the president and his advisors have dug in, and yesterday said you can take to the bank that he's not going to the border. I think that's what was reported, number one. Number two is I think they're afraid that if the president goes down there, he's going to own the situation, the crisis. But you know what? Even if he doesn't show up, he still owns the crisis down there. It doesn't matter. And my thing is, how would a leader be defined? Well, I think if you have a crisis, the leader should be down there. He should go down there, roll up his sleeves, and see exactly what's going on. Or he can do it long distance like he's been doing, sending surrogates down there and saying everything's under control. But if you look at it, I've looked at the numbers. In May of 2014, about 48,000 people passed or were detained by Border Patrol. This month of June, or this last month of June, it was about 47,000. So it's still the same. So the tide has not been has not slowed down at all.
So, but what could the president learn by coming here that he hasn't learned already from the 5 visits so far this year by his DHS secretary, visits by the CBP commissioner, Health and Human Service secretary, and other administration officials?
Well, it's just like myself said, hey, I'm not going to go down to the border. I'm just going to send the staff. I mean, it's good to have the staff, but I think as the person in charge, he has to come down here. He has at least, if he doesn't want to see the young kids there at being held by Border Patrol, he should at least go up there, give the Border Patrol a morale boost, and tell them, to keep doing the good job detaining folks. And as a leader, you should be down there.
Is
Henry,
it the fact that the administration doesn't want the president, let's say, photographed in these detention centers where the kids are being held?
that's ridiculous.
Well, I assume that.
Is that what they mean by the optics of this?
Well,
You're worried about it? Yeah. Go ahead, Henry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what they're referring to, but I would say that, again, if you're going to put a human face to the situation, what's the best way of doing that is having the president come down to the border. What was the last time he was actually in South Texas? I think it was in 2008 when he was running. He's been to El Paso, but, they only had about 350 people that were detained by Border Patrol in the month of May. 38,000 out of the 47,000 were in the South Texas Valley area alone.
Yeah.
That's where the situation is at, and it's a crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis, and it's homeland security.
No, understood.
For all of us.
And Henry, probably the most poignant and powerful argument that one could make, and you as a lawmaker that perhaps could get through, which I understand you've been told to shut up by the White House, but if you can get back through to him, as a father of daughters, for him to see these kids down here at the detention facilities and understand that 1/3 of these girls have been molested, raped, or assaulted on their way up here, that will move him to act to stop this flood of humanity that's coming up from Central America. That argument needs to be made to the man himself. He and I may not agree politically on anything, but we know him to be
or it could
a
work
faithful
the other
husband
way,
and a good father.
It could also work the other way. He could see that as a excuse to, or not an excuse, but he could
an argument
to allow them to stay in this country and become refugees and not go back to the horrendous situation they are in their home countries.
By the way, since you're bucking the White House, Henry, Tim has a new moniker for you. You know how rhinos are on the Republican side, Republican in name only? What is it, Tim?
Henry, are you a dino?
Don't worry.
You're a dino.
You're not a dino, Henry, are you?
You're a dino. You're a Democrat in name only.
In 2005, that's what my opponents used against me. But listen,
Ouch.
I'm a Democrat, but I will always put the country before my political party.
Stay on
And
it,
the
Henry.
border, hopefully.
We'll keep in touch. Henry Cuellar joining us on 710 KURV. AccuWeather says highs will be 91 at the beach, 97 in the Western Valley. Southeast winds 10 to 20. Border Bridge wait times on 710 KURV. B&M Bridge, Brownsville, reporting a 15 to 20 minute wait. Donna at 10 minutes, 35. Hidalgo, 15 to 20 minutes at the Veterans Bridge. It's 7:54 on News Talk 710 KURV. Get your new shallow stalker boat at Andes Marine from the Andes Marine Sports Desk. Quick note, the Astros beat the Rangers. I believe the last score was 8-3. Final score